The ultimate fishing experience is brought to you by Lund Boats. This week on the Ultimate Fishing Experience, it's all about tactics for catching big bass, shallow, deep, and everywhere in between.
There's one. That's a big boy, Ty. Ty's doubled up to that fish. Oh, Ty's got a donkey. One. That's a big fish, dude.
Beautiful fish right there.
After the spawn, and as the season progresses, bass begin to spread throughout the lake in search of food. And depending on the habitat that's available, this could mean that a portion of the bass population will head out to deep rock points or humps, while some bass may cruise the weed flats and others will remain in the shallows, stalking prey in the thick weed cover, holding tight to wood, or patrolling the inside weed line. We join Jeremy Smith and Sjodin geared up with the right tools to quickly search out the largest concentrations of big bass, no matter where they live.
Go out, have some fun, catch some bass, get good with all the different ones, and I promise you, you'll have a blast and you'll probably catch some really big fish. Hey, it's mid-June and we're gonna head out and do a little bass fishing and possibly even some crappie fishing. And this time of year, bass can really be anywhere using just about every cover type you can imagine. But there's a few jigs and rigs that are dynamite to have on your line when you hit the water this time of year that are as effective as you're gonna get for being efficient on the water.
Yep, we got a lineup of great rods and jigs and different plastics to use today. We're ready to go, Jer.
The lake we're going to today is just prime for catching big bass. It's a big body of water. It'd be classified as eutrophic, so it's got a lot of fertility and it's got a lot of different types of habitat for bass in the lake. It's got bulrushes, it's got cut banks, it's got a lot of matted curly-leaf pondweed and milfoil and coontail, it's got deep rocks, it's got wood, so it really has all the elements that you'd want to fish. And this time of year, of course, bass can be really using any one of those. So we're gonna have some baits that are, we can fish as efficiently as possible. And that's really the bread and butter skirted jig. That does so much of the bass fishing that you need it to do. And we'll fish as quick as we can through a lot of these different cover types. And depending on where we find the fish, we'll adjust the style and the weight of the jig that we're using. And then of course, in addition to that, some of the new things that have come out with Texas rigs for punching and getting through that cover are also dynamite presentations. And then lastly, you've got an endless array of soft plastics that you can put on the back of your rigs or the back of your Texas rigs. So really it's all about experimentation. We've got 2 sticks in the boat, so Ty and I will both kind of be mixing it up on color and maybe profile and see what the fish want. And hopefully we'll nail down exactly what type of cover they're using, what they want to bite, and put the herd on a bunch of big largies today.
Well, he called that one, didn't he?
That's a nice one.
It's a good one.
Oh yeah.
Nice
Sweet.
fish.
Up on this cut bank here, Ty.
Beautiful.
Oh, they're fun.
He called it.
They're fun, they're fun, they're fun. That's a nice largie too. Huh? How do you like him?
There's one.
Oh, doubled up. We got another one back there. Good fish. I'm gonna kick us out a little bit, Ty, so we got some room to play.
Mine's not nearly as big as yours, but boy, they're fun to catch still. 2 in the same spot. They're loaded up there.
Beautiful. So this one again came on a Texas rig, and I'm gonna share with you, I'm gonna lay a few baits out on the deck here after I let this guy go and share with you some of the lures that we choose based on the habitat that we're targeting these largemouth. Let's get this guy back. Here you go, see dude. So I just caught that fish on a Texas rig, and now a Texas rig is really just a slip sinker with a hook, and you put a piece of plastic on it, it fishes through cover. Now recently there have been some tremendous modifications made to just the classic lead bullet sinker, and that's developed into a whole new category we term punching. And so what we're doing with this, to keep the bait and the sinker as one compact unit, we use a sinker stop like this. VMC makes a nice little pack of stuff. You just slide this onto your line, and that prevents the sinker from freely sliding up and down the line, and it makes the bait go through the weeds much easier. A couple styles of hooks, of course, are your, like I said, that one caught the fish on was the EWG, or extra wide gap. The other is this more traditional flipping style hook. If you're gonna pick one size hook for most flipping applications. For me, you're looking at a 4/0 hook. And in terms of those weights, these are tungsten weights, a super high dense piece of metal. It transmits what the bottom composition is. You can feel the cover very well. You're looking in that 1/2 to 1.5 ounce category, with probably your 3/4 being your main weight, the main steady. Some of the really cool stuff that's happened recently is you get these little plastic hubs and you can put a skirt on there and now make this basically a skirted jig. Other additional elements is you can put glass beads or metallic beads between the sinker and the hook so you can make them rattle. And most of the time when you get bit, it's going to hit the bottom, you're going to lift up, and the fish is going to be there.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Mercury Marine. Go boldly.
Well, the wind pushed us down a little bit here, so we're going to slide right back up to where we got those fish. You know, bass are just so schooly by nature that if you get one fish, especially on a point or something like this, you got to make multiple casts and come back to it. I got a feeling, Ty, in about another 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute and 30 seconds, we're both going to set the hook again. There's one. That's a big boy, Ty. Oh yeah, that's a big fish. Big fish. That's what we came out here for, brother. Sweet. That's so fun. Your stomach's sore. If you get in a good fight like this, you're gonna have bruised ribs from pulling these babies out of their home. Oh, and he popped up. I always call this like looking for that. You're just looking for that little spot. Don't get frustrated. You spend so much time looking to find fish. It's like there's nothing, there's nothing, there's nothing, there's nothing. Then you find these little sweet spots. You just keep your head in the game knowing that at any point in time, you could run into a place like, oh, I just missed one too, Ty.
That thing was actually hung up in the grass and he came up after it. Oh, look at that, huh?
It's a big fish,
That's
dude.
a tank. Little beat up in the tail. Beautiful fish right there. This is what we're after. All right, we'll get her back. We're actually fishing really heavy cover. Thick matted grass, reeds, up in the coontails. What you need to pull these big bass is heavy equipment. I'm using a 7-foot medium heavy Legend Elite. Perfect rod for this situation. Along with that, 30 to 50 pound braided Suffix to really yank those things out of the weeds. Also have just a workhorse of a reel, this Daiwa Tutola 8.1. All this stuff is built for exactly what we're doing, pulling big bass out of thick cover.
When you're fishing slackline presentations like jigging or jerk baiting, that's when a fast reel really comes into play. Like Ty mentioned, we're fishing both 7 and 8 gear ratios on our reels, and that is a huge deal. You need to be able to pick up slack. It's not the power for pulling, it's the ability to pick up slack. But when you're trying to get baits that are just jumping and hopping off of the cover, you need something that's got medium heavy to heavy power, super fast action, and a fast reel.
Another one?
Another one. It's not a bad time, is it? I'd say that's a heck of a lot of fun. Drilling bass in early summer. There's a reason why they're North America's favorite game fish. They're abundant. They're not that hard to catch. They jump. They fight like crazy. I love fishing buckets. It's a good time. See, dude, I'm gonna get another. All right, Ty, let's roll. I think we beat these guys up good enough.
Sounds good to me. Try another spot?
Yeah.
I'm game.
Right now we're running Lund's 1875 Renegade with a 115 Mercury 4-stroke on the back. And every year, Mercury tests all kinds of Lund boats with small outboards to the giant 350s, and they test the different props on those boats to see which one works best. Here's an example of what they found.
Hi, I'm Terry McCardle, and I'm a retired Lund dealer, and I'm doing some prop testing for Lund right now on a couple of new models, and we're experimenting with this new X7 stainless steel version of the Spitfire prop, and we're finding some pretty impressive results. For example, we just got done testing 19 aluminum Spitfire, but then we dropped 17 stainless steel X7 on there, We picked up 3.5 miles an hour and 600 RPMs. We've also been testing acceleration and fuel economy. And what we found is not only will this prop give you better top end, it will give you a quicker hole shot, significantly quicker, and better fuel economy. You're able to get more of the boat out of the water, do the lifting capability. The boat pushes easier. It's a no-brainer. You're going to burn less fuel. What we found is with this prop that we would find our best improvement on the 75 through 115 size motors. And that's certainly been the case.
One of my favorite ways to cover these mid-depth flats where you've got, weed cover that's not real thick, but something that's too thick to fish with a crankbait or something like that is with what we call a swim jig. Generally, I'm fishing this time of year in those flats that are 6 to 8 feet, a 3/8 of an ounce. In the spring, if I'm fishing shallower, I'll go a quarter, but a 3/8 ounce swim jig. It's got that cone-shaped head, real light skirt so it can get down a little deeper, and I like a craw on the back of it personally, but you can put any trailer or grub or whatever you want on the back. And the whole idea with the swim jig is just cast it out, count it down to depth, and do this. That's how simple it is. Cast it out, reel it in, and it's a really good way to find, where if there's bass on that flat or not. You might get one, and then you can slow down and fish some other presentations, but a dynamite way to cover water. Usually a month or so after the fish spawn, you'll start to see a movement of fish offshore to some deeper hard bottom areas. And when those bass get on those spots, the best jig that I know of to catch them out there is what you'd call often a football jig or a rugby jig. The idea with this jig is it's got a really wide head, so it's got a lot of surface area to make contact with the bottom. So you can transmit what the bottom composition is, so you know if you're in sand, mud, gravel, or even big rock. The jig that I like fishing with a lot has an articulated head. You can see the hook is free swinging on here. This is a VMC swing and rugby head, and I like a craw on the back of it. It's a real simple presentation. It's almost like crankbait fishing. You cast the bait out, you let it hit the bottom, get my rod angle real low, and I just slowly crank this along the bottom. It's just a slow reel pause, and it's just crawling along the bottom like a crayfish would. When you get on a school of fish, it's really fun because it's a tight line bite, almost like a crankbait. When fishing wood, I like to have a jig that's not too narrow. I don't want something that's going to roll over and expose that hook to the side of the wood, and that also holds true if I was fishing like bulrush or something like that. In a pro secret jig, this is just a great all-around utility jig. You can fish this in weed, you can fish it in wood, you can fish it over rock, but this is the type of jig that I like to go to when I'm fishing timber. The deal is with timber, if you start to feel the jig get hung up, make sure you keep your rod pointed directly at the bait and just keep giving it slack and just slightly feather it over. If you start to feel tension, don't pull because you're going to bury the jig into the wood. There we go. That's a big one.
That's a good one.
Nice.
It's bass here.
Cool. I thought he was a real horse when I first set the hook. Oh. Come here. Come here, Mr. Bass. How do you like that? Gosh, they do have a big mouth, don't they? All right, that was a nice fish. And talking about target casting, what I mean by that is putting baits like your jig or your Texas rig in very tight spots, little pockets, basically landing it in a coffee cup every time. And to do that, the boat needs to be in the right position for you to make the accurate cast. Now the boat we're fishing out of right now, this 1875 Renegade, is set up perfect for this style of fishing, for flipping. And I've got them in Coda Fortrex 24-volt system on the front of this. And what's great about the Fortrex and the cable drive is the motor becomes an extension of your body. You know which direction the bow is pointing and where you're going just based on the angle of your foot. Now if you're using electric steer, you constantly have to pay attention to the head of the trolling motor and not where your next target is. So by running a cable drive on a bass boat, and that's why you see bass guys that are doing a lot of flipping always running a cable drive, it makes your flipping a lot more efficient because you're not paying attention to where the head of the trolling motor is. You're just paying attention to how the boat needs to be angled so you can hit your target every single time. For fishing heavy matted cover like this stuff right here, this is where the flip and stick is very, very important. And this punch rig that's basically a modified jig is absolutely the way to go through this stuff. It fishes cleaner than any jig that I've ever seen before, and it slides through the stuff extremely well. And so what that bait's doing in there is you're fishing that real heavy weight. Like this is a 3/4 ounce, 1, in some cases even 1.5 ounce weights is what you're using to punch through that stuff. So the idea with this bait is you want it to hit those little holes in there and go dive straight down to the bottom. And you keep it in that little pocket and you're just kind of jigging it up and down. You're not making long casts. The longer the cast you make, the less efficient this bait is. This is real tight fishing. You're just picking little pockets, a short distance away from you, the bait dives through, and most of the time when you get bit, it's gonna hit the bottom, you're gonna lift up and the fish is gonna be there.
Get him this time, huh?
Got him. How do you like that? That is truly flipping. Pretty crazy the stuff you can get those fish out of, isn't it? That's totally amazing. And there's no other way to do it. I mean, you can get through that stuff with a frog, but it really does come down to this specialized gear. Now in here, I'm fishing 50-pound line. This is not a place. Some guys even go to 65-pound, and that's braided line, but you can't get away with 30 even in here. You'll get busted off a lot of times, and this is where it comes to that heavy action rod. This one's a 7/4. It's a heavy, fast action. You can see, I mean, this is like, even a 4-pound bass can have enough, it can weigh as much as a 40-pound muskie with all the cover that they end up bringing with them. So it's fun, man. If you've never done this kind of fishing, it's toe to toe, it's action. I mean, you really gotta have your game on. It's fun to get the fish out of this stuff. One of the things I really love about this boat is the shallow draft. I mean, you can see some of the stuff we're fishing. It's not only thick, but a lot of it's shallow. We're going over some really shallow ground to get to the places that we want to fish. And the Renegade is designed for that type of fishing. It's designed to go through shallow water so you can get into big bass like this one. Huh? You don't want to be in a boat that doesn't let you get to where the fish are. This is a sweet rig for this deal, isn't it, man? I'd say it's a sweet rig for this deal. Pretty cool. Right on.
Double jar.
Doubles, dude. Oh, you lost.
There he
yours.
goes, but
Hey,
nice fish anyway.
for sure. Cool. One thing I've noticed too about fish in cover is when they're close to cover, they're not as scared of you as they are when you're fishing open water. You can get really close to a lot of these fish. I'm not saying you want to get right on top of them, but when the fish are in cover, they're not really that apt to just spook and scatter. They sit there and it's like they want to hold their ground.
You look at this mat of weeds, there's a lot of living space under there for the fish just to roam around. I mean, we're catching fish just in a small area, so that just tells you exactly how much room is under there. I got one.
It's a nice one too. That's a tank, buddy.
Like I was saying, there's a lot of fish.
Oh, and I just missed one, Ty.
Under that matted weed. Way more than you would think, right? And we were catching fish after fish in just a small area, like I was saying. This proves it right here. I mean, these fish are big.
Today we're fishing out of Lund's new Mod V Renegades. This is an awesome boat for shallow water accesses. You can go through extremely shallow water. And what I really love about this boat, in addition to a number of other things, is the reverse chine that Lund is so famous for. So you've got great stability in the water. Not only that, it has rod storage for 9-foot rods in the 1875 and 8-foot rods in the 1775. It's got a massive casting deck on the bow, and the aft has plenty of storage. It's got a recessed trolling motor foot pedal, motor trim at the bow, a 30-gallon aft live well, a 12-gallon bow live well on the Crappie Edition. The Crappie Edition also has side-by-side seating at the bow. It's got an integrated cooler, bench seating with more storage underneath, and LED lighting for those low light situations.
Oh, this is a tank.
It's the ultimate bass and panfish boat, which Ty and I targeted both throughout the course of the day.
Look at that thing.
Oh, it's a beauty, dude.
Beautiful fish.
Smokes.
So I tell you what, on these fisheries, I mean, there's big bass and big panfish. This is the perfect size that you want to put back into the system to keep that balance.
There's one. I think that's a crappie.
Crappie.
Oh yeah, it's a nice
Another one.
crappie.
Oh, perfect.
Sweet. All right, well, mission accomplished. We caught panfish, we got crappies, we got gills, and we caught some big largemouth bass. You know, that's the one thing I love about this boat. It's just perfectly set up. If you're a bass head, you like catching panfish, you like shallow water fishing, and it's got all the room and storage for you to keep gear for a multi-species day. Cool, I'm gonna get this guy back.
Did you see? That's cool.
Oh, it's a big boy here too, I think.
Looks like it. You can't hardly tell though.
Can't really tell with this stuff. Wow, that's a really nice.
Tank,
Look at
huh?
that thing. That's a tank, man. Wow,
old
that's a
head
big
on it.
fish. Man, I'm telling you what, some of the biggest bass of the year, of your season, even on your life, are going to be caught fishing a jig or a Texas rig. Go out, have some fun, catch some bass, get good with all the different ones, and I promise you, you'll have a blast and you'll probably catch some really big fish.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like more information, check out lundboats.com or these other online outlets.